you ready?
Are you ready? Hello, this is Shane Moore, the Texarcist, and this is the Texarcist Live podcast. Tonight we will be talking about what I have talked about the last two episodes, the last episode, the Noahide laws. And tonight we'll be talking about the Noahide laws for Americans and for the world, and those who truly rule, who call the shots and are in charge. And I'm joined by my good friend Jacob Ripple, and we'll just be bouncing ideas and theories and facts off of each other. So welcome, Jacob. Glad you're here. And
thanks, Shannon. Good to be here.
Well, Jacob is a fellow Texan, so Texas is so big, it's like he lives in a different state, because it's like, what, 300 miles away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good 300. I know you're the one that drove it, so.
Yeah, it's a long way. But
I'm willing to get up your way yet.
yeah. There's so many people, they're like, okay, well, so when I come there, we can go to Odessa, right? I'm like, yeah, if you've got like 2 days, because that's about an 8-hour drive, or and they're like, wow, and of course they live in like, Connecticut or something. That's, it's like, man, they have no idea. So, but yeah, Texas is huge. So, but anyway,
every place is a long way away in Texas.
Absolutely. But we will take a short break, and when we come back, we will begin the show tonight. And not gonna be punches. Gonna name names. Gonna explain connections and expose plans and from places, people, and organizations that you would never suspect that would be part of this. And that is, in fact, the great deception. That is the strength that these people have. And just so you know, what I'm talking about are those who say that they're Jews, that they're the Jewish people, when in fact they're not. And there are true Jewish people who are in Israel, Jerusalem, who protest against what is taking place right now. And I will expose the Christian fundamentalists, the Christian cowards, who say they're Christians and they're really not. They're Zionists, and they're in it for the money and they're in it for the power, and which is really sickening, because there are hundreds of thousands and millions of people that follow these Christian evangelicals, the leaders who are it's really, really sickening, but it is really eye-opening when you know the truth. The truth will set you free. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in 3 minutes, and we will get started on an episode you will not soon forget. Okay, we are back. Yes, so there's a great bit of deception that is going on, and that has went on since before 1948, when Israel was quote unquote reestablished as a nation. And this goes back to the Balfour Declaration in 1917, that when the supposed Jewish people were they were going to return to their homeland, and it was signed that by Lord Rothschild, and I believe it was Lord Balfour, or it was the Balfour Declaration, after all, that the Palestinian people who had lived there for thousands of years, that they would coexist with the Israeli people. And so it was something that they would not be made to leave, or their land or their property would not be taken. And then in 1948 was the Balfour Declaration that was signed. Was it upheld? Were the promises kept? No. The Palestinian people were basically given an offer they could not refuse. And if they did, they died. It's that simple. So tell me, you have heard, I know you have, because it's all over the place. You've heard by Christian fundamentalists, Christian leaders, the powerful, the mighty men of God, and you are obligated to stand with Israel. That's saying, okay, even though, and again, I'm not talking about the true Jewish people. I'm talking about those who are the most racist people on the face of the earth. And I can prove that by quotes that they've made and statements out of their own mouths, that you are worth nothing. When they look at you, they secretly wish that you were dead, that you were wiped off of the face of the earth. Hello, does that sound familiar, Jacob? Does that sound familiar? That's attributed
Sounds like something Hitler said.
That's attributed to another group, and I'm not.
Yeah, I think the Nazis.
Well, yes, but there's another group that was a few years ago, that, and even now, that were accused of wanting to wipe Israel off the map. And you want to talk about deception. You want to talk about twisting words. You want to talk about propaganda. You want to talk about promulgating lies. Let me tell you, I'm talking about Iran. I'm talking about the Muslim people. Okay? Now, the president at the time of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, as close as I can get to the name. But anyway, the name doesn't matter. You know the person I'm talking about. He looks like Mo of the Three Stooges. And I thought, when I first saw the guy, I thought, well, maybe. I mean, he could be evil. I mean, so I listened to him speak, and he said, he said, they said, you said that you wanted Israel wiped off the map. And he said, I did not say that. He said, go back and listen to what I said. They said, you said that Israel was a threat to the world. And he said, I did not say that. He said, go back and listen. And so it captivated me because I truly saw that this man was being sincere. And man, what the hell's going on? Because this guy's supposedly like one of the most evil, dictators in the world. So they go back, and what he said he said, Zionism needs to be wiped off the face of the map. Not Israel. Zionism. And Zionism is a political movement that is not a spiritual movement. It's not a religious movement. It is political. Okay? And there is a Zionist movement in the world today, especially the United States. Oh man. The Christian fundamentalists are hell-bent on Zionism. And Zionism is something that was started in the late 1800s by Theodore Herzl. Okay, and it is absolutely it's rabid. I mean, it is absolute racist to the core, and it is all about Israel, so-called Israel. But I want to say, there's been many people say, well, they're not true Jewish people. They are Khazarian. They're the Khazarians that came in from the far north and took up residence in Palestine and claimed to be God's chosen people. Hey, they returned home and here they are. So it's basically everyone that's here now, Palestinians, get the hell out. Hey, Nazreen, glad you joined us. It's like, get the hell out.
Hi, Nazreen.
It's like, get the hell out. This is our land, okay? And keep in mind, the Balfour Declaration said that they would live, side by side. They would live together. They would coexist together. And then you have the Israeli soldiers that are going, and they're throwing people out of their homes. They're saying, okay, need to leave. Well, imagine, put yourself, and even if they were true Jews, even if by some way they were able to prove that, yes, they are the true Jewish people, you know what? The way I see it, to hell with you anyway. Right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't give a damn who you are. I don't give a damn who you say you are. When you go into a sovereign country where people are living in peace, they're not doing a damn thing, but you just want their land, and you say, well, God told me that this is my land and that you have to leave. Well, you know what? I'm not buying it. I don't give a damn what your God said. Yeah, I said that. So, and there's going to be a lot more of that. I'm not being anti-God. I'm not being against anybody. I'm being for right, and I'm against wrong. I am against anyone. And if you are, if you're against someone just because they're Muslim, I'm not talking about fanatical, terroristic, that type of, because
jihadists.
yeah, like the jihadists and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about if you hate someone because they're Muslim or they're Palestinian or they're Egyptian or Arabian or whatever. You know what? You're not my friend. You're not.
Yeah, if you hate anybody because of a race.
Yes, race, belief, whatever, and they haven't done a damn thing to you, remove yourself from, don't consider yourself my friend, because you're not my friend. That's where this world has gone to hell, is because of shit like that. And if you have kids in the room or whatever, I know Nazarene, Egyptian, that's right. And I swear, if anyone was to treat her in my presence, I don't care if I got the hell beat out of me, you're not going to do that to her. Yeah. Nah. You know why? Because she's my sister and I love her. You know why? Because she has more love in her little finger than these so-called self-proclaimed children of God have in their entire friggin' body. You know what? They're full of hate.
No doubt.
They're full of hate. She's full of love. So, tell me this. Even on Judgment Day, all you Christians that say, well, if she doesn't accept, if they don't accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, and come Judgment Day, she's going to burn in hell, correct? Wrong! I'm not buying it. The Bible says God is love. God is love. Now, you're not going to tell me that you're going to have all these people that are fueled by hate who see themselves as superior to everyone else. And see, like I said, if you got kids in the room or whatever, you might want to take them into another room. You might want to put them to bed, because I'm just going to let it all hang out. That's bullshit, and it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly with me. And you're damn glad I'm not president of the United States, because I don't care who the hell you think you are, or where the hell you trace your lineage from. You know what? It's shit. That's what it is. It's shit, and it's bullshit, and it's a bunch of crap. And I tell you to your face, Mr. Netanyahu, and by the way, you need to do away with that comb over. It's just not working for you. Anyway.
Well, Yahoo's a good name. Yahoo's a good name for him, too.
Oh.
He's a Yahoo.
Yes. God made us all equal. And I tell you, I am not, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but I am sick of this. I am sick of watching and listening to these people that they're like that walrus down in San Antonio, your neck of the woods, Jacob, John Hagee. He actually, the other day on YouTube, I saw him. I saw part of him, because all of him won't fit on the on a regular camera.
For sure.
So I just saw some of the blubber.
Well, he's not missing any meals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can say that he is a well-fed Zionist. I'll tell you that. And
no doubt
he is on. And I listened to him a long time ago, between 1992 and like 1996, and I thought he was like really, really, I was taken in by him. I was just, I thought, man, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And the more I watched him, the more that I just, I took notes and everything. And with me, I have always researched and re-researched and re-researched to make sure that, things made sense. If they didn't, then I found out why they didn't, or if I was wrong or just didn't understand. So with him, I told my wife at the time, I said, it was in 99. I told my wife at the time, I said, when we go on vacation, I said, I'd like to go to San Antonio. I said, because I want to go to Cornerstone Church and I want to meet John Hagee in person. She said, okay, it's good to me. So we did. We did. That's what we did. And went to, Sunday morning, services, and we were about 10 minutes late, which is usual for me. That's actually early for me. So what was weird was, and I still don't know what was going on, but we arrived like 10 minutes late. And the ushers, they took us down and set us on the pew, on like the second pew where John Hagee's wife and his daughters were sitting, set us next to them. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Because we came in late, and there were a lot of, there were several pews in the back, thinking, why didn't they sit us in the back? I mean, this is being televised and everything. They take us down and sit us next to his wife and his daughters. And so I'm watching it in person, and I look up, and there he is on the podium with the choir singing, this massive choir, and he's sitting in a chair that is huge. It's more like a throne, and I believe that that's exactly the way it's supposed to look. It's supposed to look like a throne.
And that's a massive church.
Yes, it is a massive church. I think it holds like 2,000 to 3,000 people, and he has 2 to 3 services every Sunday morning. So his congregation is 8,000 to 10,000 people. So, and so I'm sitting there, and I notice that he makes eye contact with me. I make eye contact with him, and it's kind of like, it's very strange because it's just, kind of creeped me out because I'm like, okay, what's he doing eyeballing me? Maybe because I'm sitting next to his wife. Trust me, bub, there's no problem there. You don't have anything to worry about. My wife's sitting next to me. Yeah, we're cool. And he would just, look off, and then even when he was preaching, he would, just look, right at me, and I'm thinking, man, So what I found that was kind of strange too is there were these 2 huge bodyguards. They're like all dressed in black, that were darkly dressed. And I mean, these dudes are like 6'4", 6'5", probably pushing 300 pounds. I mean, they were huge. They're standing on both sides of the podium where he stands. It's a half moon type, deal with steps. They're standing on both sides, and they've got their arms crossed, and they're just standing there like, hey, make our day, and try to get to the pastor. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're preaching and you're telling everyone that God is their refuge and their strength, and God will protect them, yet you've got 2 big goons here that look like that they're carrying brass knuckles, probably lead pipes, and that wouldn't surprise me if they had pistols. So, that really doesn't say a lot, in my opinion, for you, Mr. Hagee. But regardless, after the sermon, it was announced that he would be signing copies of his new book. And something like The Blood Moons Over Jerusalem, how it fits into biblical prophecy. It should have been titled How I Have Made It Fit Into My Version of Biblical Prophecy So I Can Make a Fortune. And but at that time I didn't know, and I was believing all this and everything. And so there was a huge line, a long line, and there were actually people that were standing there that were talking, and they were even telling me, they said, I've been a member of this church for, years and stuff. Did you know that Pastor Hagee is a modern day prophet like Moses? And I'm like, okay, this is when my eyes were starting to open, and I'm like Moses? I'm like, yes. He talks to God every day. And I said, how do you know? He talks, well, he tells us. He goes into the privacy of his prayer room and he talks to God, and then he passes it on to us. And I'm like, whoa, I'm smelling cult. I mean,
that's it. It sounds like a cult.
Yeah, big time, And they said, yes, they said, he is the most humble, the most righteous man that we've ever known. And I'm like, well, from some of the things I've heard him say, I've just overlooked them. He's not, right away, he's not something I would call humble. I mean, and so anyway, I got closer and was watching him autograph these books, not sign, autograph these books, and it was like $25 a book. I'm talking even like a paperback, and God only knows how many copies were sold. And so I got up there with my wife, and he said, what is your name? And I said, Shane. He goes, Shane, it's my favorite movie. It's my favorite Western. I said, well, that's my namesake. I said, my mom named me after that movie, The Gunfighter Shane. And he says, oh, that's great. I shook his hand, and when I did, oh man, it was like my eyes opened. And I just felt this, I can't even describe it. But it was weird because it was like he knew at that moment that I guess I wasn't hiding it too well, because I just don't. I mean, I don't, what you see is what you get. I mean, if I feel something, I don't smile and pass it off. It's pretty obvious. And he just looked so strange, and it's like the whole mood changed, and he was still smiling and everything, but you could tell he was unsettled. I mean, it was like, okay, Houston, we got a problem. We got one here.
Smiling, but his eyes weren't.
Right, exactly. And so I left there, and I told my wife at the time, I said, there is just, I just have this really, really horrible feeling. I said, since meeting him in person, I said, he is not what he claims to be. And I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, that's my opinion. She said, yeah. She said, I picked up on the same thing. And I said, this guy is like really, really not what he claims to be. I said, and I know I'm not wrong about it. I said, I feel it too strongly. Well, we got back to our hotel. We went to sleep, we went to the night, to the services that evening. And, man, I mean, you talk about, we sat in the same place, and he was really, really avoiding making eye contact with me. I don't know why, but he was. And it was like he knew that I knew something about him that he didn't want me to know or whatever. And so it was completely different. And when we left, we went back to the hotel, went to sleep, and we both had horrible nightmares. I'm not kidding. Both had horrible nightmares about like the most demonic, the most evil things that you can imagine. And she was like really terrified. And she said, I feel like that it's from that church, from him. And I said, I don't know, and there's no way we can take a test and prove it, but I said, it could be, And then we both got like deathly sick. I'm serious, like deathly sick with like some kind of flu or stomach flu or something, and so much so that we had to go home early. And that was how I was experienced with John Hagee. Okay, well after that, I heard him, talking and preaching, and I just could not believe how rabid this guy is. I mean, he's praying on TBN, the Energy Broadcasting Network, which is bullshit. It is. I'm serious. It is. It's a joke. It's all religion. It's not spirituality. It is religion. It is control. And even the ones that aren't preaching hate and racism and everything, they're just how shall I put it? They're just going through the motions. They're just reading a script, It's like if I read, something that I do not believe in, I'm just saying the words. It's like somebody that knows the words, but they don't know the music. And you have to have both. And but I heard him on TBN, and he was asked to pray before the Gulf War, the second Gulf War. And he says, he like leans forward, he has to wobble. And I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of him, okay? I'm just telling you the truth. This is a guy that preaches against gluttony, and he's like 5'4" and weighs like 450 pounds, okay? Yeah, there's a little hypocrisy there. So it's like
that's a 4x4, 4 foot tall, 4 foot wide.
Yeah, and he even says, he says I'm 4 foot, I'm like 4 foot tall and 4 foot wide, and I'm like, you're a cube, man. I'm not making fun of him. I mean, I'm just saying, my God, how can you get up and preach against gluttony and against the sin of addiction or what, when you are obviously addicted to food, and my God, you're killing yourself, man. And a lot of people, they don't realize it, but in 2000 something, I don't know, he had a quadruple bypass, and it was kept secret as much as possible by the church, which is really, that tells you right there that something's not right. I mean, you have to keep it a secret. Why? Well, we want him to appear to be, superhuman, or he had open heart surgery, and because of all the, clogged arteries and everything, which is fine. But anyway, he prays on TBN on the eve of the Gulf War, when they were talking about they were going to invade. And man, he says, Father in heaven, I pray that you would protect the United States and its allies, and something like, and I pray total destruction on Iraq. And I'm going, are you bullshitting me? Are you serious? I mean, you've got this guy he's saying God is peace, God is love. be Christ-like. And he's saying, I pray that you would protect those that, basically, those that are needlessly murdering 500,000 men, women, and children of Iraq for no reason at all. And I pray that they would be decimated, destroyed, and totally, ruined forever. And I'm like, holy hell, when is somebody going to stand up and say, shut your mouth? I mean, are you serious? Call this guy out. Nobody's going to call John Hagee out because he's an expert on Israel and Judaism and the
pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes and everything about the mysticism and the ancient Judaism and what the Bible really means and all this. You know what? John Hagee is not as knowledgeable as he puts himself out to be. For example, I heard him actually teaching that that Jesus, on his 12th or 13th birthday, that Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, had a bar mitzvah for Jesus, as every Jewish boy, he says firstborn Jewish, son or whatever, Jewish boy has their bar mitzvah. And I'm thinking, okay, that's really strange, John Hagee, because the mitzvah ritual, Jewish ritual, was not practiced until like the 1300s. So what happened, Mr. Hagee? Dr. Hagee. He signs and he's referred to. He makes sure that you know that he's a doctor, but he doesn't make it clear that it's an honorary doctorate. It's like, are you kidding me? This guy coming off like he's got a PhD in everything, and an honorary from where? From Oral Roberts University. Whoa. That's up there with Harvard and Oxford, right? I don't think so. If you know anything about Oral Roberts, I mean, this guy was a nut job, unstable to say at least. I mean, at best. I mean, this guy goes around saying, naming the people that he had resurrected from the dead. Seriously. And it's like, they're serious. Well, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, he probably had to, since his name was Oral, Oh, man, that was bad. But, hey, listen. I said I wasn't pulling any punches tonight. I'm not. Hey, a little humor. We have to have humor, okay? And with a name like Oral, just think about, how he had to fend for himself, and I'm pretty sure he had to raise himself from the dead a lot of times. I don't know, but yeah, to make a claim like that and be serious about it, you are, and knowing that there are people that are believing you because you have portrayed yourself as being something that you're not. You're a scumbag. You are a total scumbag. And then you're bragging when you think you're off camera about how much money you make off these people. Yeah, you are a scumbag. And I don't know why in the hell that, he's dead now, but I don't know why in the hell that, people like him that do that, why that they're not charged with fraud and put in prison, I don't know. Well, could it be they're part of the system? You're damn right they are. They're a powerful part of the system, and that's why that they don't face any kind of punishment. When if it was you or me, we'd be charged with mail fraud, we'd be charged with everything, and they'd put us under the jail. But
yeah, I guarantee it. It means.
But yeah, that's where John Hagee got his honorary doctorate, PhD, from Oral Roberts University, and there's no telling how many or how big of a donation he made to Oral Roberts University. But anyway, Hagee is the founder of CUFI, the Christians United for Israel, and he has raised millions of dollars for Israel. I mean, a lot of money for, as he says it, for Israel, that they can defend themselves against the Palestinian oppression and the oppression of the other Middle Eastern states, countries. And I'm thinking, wait, what are you talking about? What world are you in? It's like, excuse me, but when is the last time that I've heard Israel being attacked? Like, maybe 50 years ago? And you're telling me that he says, just imagine waking up every day living in fear that you're going to be killed that day. And I'm thinking, no, you're talking about the Palestinians, right? You're talking about the countries that around Israel, right? Because after all, Israel is the country that has nuclear weapons. The other countries don't. So surely you're talking about those countries. You're not talking about Israel, right? No, I'm talking about Israel. They're the oppressed. And the reason they're oppressed is because they are God's chosen people. Okay? All right, Mr. Scholarly Pastor Hagee. Why don't you tell us what God that these people are, what God chose these people? Was the God of the Bible? I mean, was it the God that is love and light? Because if it is, it sure as hell doesn't sound like that's who you're talking about. Because number one, there is no love when you're systematically killing people, committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, just because of a person's race or a people's race, and raping and pillaging and stealing and no, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about Israel. Israel's the victim, and see, that's how this is played, because they are the ones who are running the world, including the United States. And I know there's a lot of people that, hey, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And I'm not saying that I hate you, I look down on you. I don't look down on anybody, because I was one of them when George W. Bush went into office. I'm like, okay, he's going to be different than his dad. No, he wasn't. He's part of it. I thought it's going to be a change from Clinton. Hell no. Listen, there is no Democrat. There's no Democrats. There's no Republicans. There are no. Those are labels. And the sooner that you get away from labels and you look at it without those rose-colored glasses on, when you see clearly, just like the Apostle Paul said, for now I see through the glass darkly, but then I will see as I am seen clearly. Okay. Right now, you're looking at the world. You're looking at things in this world through that dark glass. But when your eyes open, you'll see that it is literally a production. It's an act. It's an act. It's a screenplay. And we all have fallen for it. Some of us, though, have stepped out from it. And I know it sounds crazy and conspiratorial, but you know what? If it's true that there are more than two people that are involved, isn't that the definition of a conspiracy? Well, let me tell you, there's a hell of a lot more than two people involved. There's boats of people involved. Groups, supposed benevolent groups, large benevolent groups. Benevolent? Yeah. And one way that these people, I'll say these people, but I'm talking about those who call themselves Jews, and they use it as a license to basically abuse, and slaughter any other people, any other race. They're the most racist group of people on earth. If you say one thing against them, you're anti-Semitic. You know what? If that's so, if speaking out against those who call themselves Jews and are, abusing other people that they view as inferior, which is the rest of us, they're abusing those who are helpless or those who are afraid to fight back or can't fight back. Yeah. Go ahead and put me on your list as being anti-Semitic, because I'm not anti-Semitic. If that was the case, then I would be against the Palestinians, I would be against the Egyptians, I would be against the Arabs, I would be against all the Semitic people. But isn't it marvelous how you've scripted it to where that you say anything about the Palestinians, you say anything about the Egyptians, you can say anything about any other Semitic people, but you say one thing against Israel and you're anti-Semitic. Well, I just want to educate people on that. And I hope it ruins your day, Mr. Masquerading as a Jew and saying everybody else is anti-Semitic while you're the most racist prick on the planet. So, have a nice day there. Anyway, also, I'm talking about the Talmud believing those who follow the Talmud and its teachings, and it is so vile that just absolutely sickening. You want to know where this, pedophilia, you want to know where this, where all of this horrible if you want to call it satanic, then that's fine. Probably be an offense to Satan. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I'd offend the devil himself, some of the things that's in the Talmud. Yeah, and that's what they follow. I'm talking like, it says that it is nothing. It's okay to have sex with a little girl as long as she's at least one day over 3 years old. So that's fine. She's not going to remember it anyway, so have fun. Literally. And it says it is nothing to have sex with a young boy that is under that is 9 or something about 9. I'm not sure if it's 9 or younger or older, but it's nothing. It's even more acceptable to have sex with a little boy, but it's perfectly fine to have sex with a little girl, 3 years old. Can you imagine? Okay. Now, keep in mind also that one of their practices is circumcision. Okay? Now, what they do is the boy, the baby boy, just a few days after he's born, the rabbi comes to the house, or he's taken to the synagogue or whatever, and his foreskin is literally cut off by the rabbi, and with no anesthetic, nothing. I mean, it's just sliced off, which makes me cringe. But this is what's really, really sick, and I swear it would not be tolerated if it was any other group. Is the rabbi literally, when the child's bleeding, the rabbi literally puts his mouth on the bleeding penis and sucks the blood. And people are like, support Israel, support the Jews, stay with them. I think I'll pass. And with having sex with 3-year-old girls and having sex with little boys and the circumcision of babies. Like, that's not bad enough, but when they're bleeding because you just cut their foreskin off, do you put a clean, sterile bandage on it? No, the rabbi wants to suck it, and he does. Which is why that in New York, there were a lot of little baby boys that some strange, a lot of Jewish little baby boys surprisingly, mysteriously came down and they had herpes or gonorrhea or something. And guess what? Ooh. Guess who had been doing circumcisions? Guess who? One rabbi that had been doing a little bit more than just circumcisions on little boys. Yeah. Been passing it around. So those little boys, because of this, what I see as barbaric, and I've seen the documentaries of this bullshit where little boys are screaming in pain. I mean, it's like they are screaming and there's blood. I mean, what the hell is this, Salem's Lot? I mean, are we talking about vampires? I mean, somebody's bleeding, especially like a little boy, a little girl. Yeah, I'm going to get some sterile bandages and gauze, right? I'm damn sure not going to put my mouth on their penis or vagina and drink their blood. I mean, come on. And those of you that that say, well, it's their religious freedom. You know what? Rethink that. Grow a pair and stop taking up for this bullshit. My God, are you serious? Are you serious? Are you seriously telling me that you don't have the balls to stand up and say, that's bullshit, it's wrong? Oh yeah, well, it's okay if it's somebody else's child, right? But if it was your son, what would you do? Seriously, what would you do? Would you be so compliant then and, for them then? I don't think so. Well, nor should you be whenever it's any little boy. It's any baby boy. This is not right. It is just not right. And when we talk about these people, they're from Khazaria, and if you do your study about the history of the Khazarian people, you'll find that they were basically kicked out of every country that they were ever in. Jacob, do you know about that? Have you read about the Khazarian history? The history of the Khazarians, and there was a king Bulan that basically said in ancient what's now Russia, he said, "Look, you're gonna have to go somewhere else." He said, "We can't have you here." Said, "You are stealing. You're breaking into people's homes. You're stealing everything they have, and scumbags. So you're gonna have to go somewhere else." And so they did. And I find it very telling that in the book of Ezekiel, it says that Israel, the promised land, would be invaded by a people from the far north, which would be Khazaria. Now I'm just saying, isn't that pretty amazing that the Bible itself says that they would come from the far north like clouds and inhabit the land of Israel, or aka Palestine. And have you ever wondered why it was called Palestine before it was called Israel? Because the Palestinians live there, right? So it's like why is all of this accepted? And especially the Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic sect of Judaism, which is what the sect that Jared Kushner happens to be part of, which is the sect that Benjamin Netanyahu happens to be a part of, which has been called the Doomsday sect of Judaism. Approximately 200,000 members. They've got 4,000 centers worldwide, and their most famous leader, he died in 1994, Rabbi Mendel Schneerson, who Jared Kushner and his wife, the president's daughter, Ivanka or Trump, who has renounced her beliefs and accepted this doomsday apocalyptic Judaism, sect of Judaism, and has changed her name to Yoel. And I find it very interesting that every one of Trump's children, those that are married to Jewish. Their spouses are Jewish, and the one that isn't married yet, I believe he's dating a Jewish woman. So, what's going on? And also, who did President Trump appoint to negotiate the peace plan between Israel and the Palestinians? Jared Kushner. Now tell me, when you have someone who is a member of such a rabid, anti everyone that's not Jewish, that's or I should say Khazarian, that is not of their bloodline, of their genetics or whatever. When you have someone that goes to the dead Rabbi Schneerson's grave and prays to him along with his wife, the president's daughter. Yes, they do that. They go to Schneerson's grave. Schneerson was a powerful leader of the Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic movement. That its headquarters in Brooklyn. And by the way, since I started doing this topic, I have noticed that I have listeners, surprisingly, in Brooklyn now. So if any of you are listening, or you're listening because I'm talking about your beliefs or your racism or your rabid, death to everyone that's not us bullshit, contact me. Introduce yourself. Because I would love to have you come on the show and give us reasons why you think you're so superior, and why you think why your goal is to rule the world with your 7 Noahide laws to replace the 10 Commandments and the laws that we have now. And by the way, those Noahide laws are bullshit. Yeah, I said that. They're bullshit. They're made up. They're man-made. And yeah, you teach that they come from Noah. Okay, did Noah send you a memo? Did you get? Wow, that's even if they did come from Noah. Who the hell gave you the authority to enforce it? And by the way, if you break any of those Noahide laws, which are, as Jacob said before the show, they only apply to the non-Jews. They only apply to us, the Gentiles. To that they call dogs. And Rabbi Schneerson, the leader that lived in Brooklyn until he died, he is quoted as saying, the fingernail of a Jew is worth more than the life of any Gentile. The fingernail. And he is quoted as saying that the world needs to be eradicated of Gentiles. That the Jews should inherit the earth, and that Gentiles are nothing more than if Gentiles are allowed to live, that their existence should be as slaves to the Jewish people. And then you have Menachem Begin, the former Israeli prime minister that John Hagee brags about being personal friends with, and he said, quote, well, let's see. He says, quote, well, if I can get to it, he says, quote, our race is the master race. Ooh, who said that? Who said that before Menachem Begin said this in the 80s? Oh yeah, Hitler said that, right? Claimed the master race. Menachem Begin said, our race is the master race. We are divine gods on this planet. We are as different from the inferior race as they are from insects. Other races are beasts and animals, cattle at best. Our destiny is to rule over the inferior races, the master, and serve us as our slaves. End of quote, Menachem Begin. That John Hagee brags about being friends with. I guess John Hagee wants to lick, Israeli men's feet. I don't know. Not me. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. Never will be. Put a gun to my head and say, lick my feet. I'd say, pull the trigger, brother. Pull that trigger or I'll pull it. But I'm not licking your feet. Yeah, I have this.
No doubt.
I have this condition, this tongue condition, where that just does not work. Menachem Begin, who Netanyahu has a portrait, a huge picture of Menachem Begin in his office, so he can get inspiration from Menachem Begin, And I'm talking, this is like the entire wall. He was being interviewed by the reporter Russell Warren Howe, January 1974, and Howe asked him, he says, how does it feel in light of all that's going on to be the father of terrorism in the Middle East? Menachem Begin bellowed in his thick cartoon accent, in the Middle East? How about in all the world? End of quote. He was bragging about it. You see, what the deal is that Menachem Begin was part of the Israeli terrorism back before Israel was made into a nation. And there was the King David hotel bombing. Now this is where it gets really interesting, to say the least. The King David hotel bombing, false flag, was a false flag attack that was actually ordered by David Ben-Gurion, the first Israeli prime minister, to garner support for Israel. And Menachem Begin was part of that. And what happened is the supposed Jewish people, or the soldiers, dressed up as Arabs. But something happened, and it didn't work out. They didn't make their exit quick enough, and they got caught. And when they got caught, it was soon discovered that they were wearing costumes, and it was in fact Israel bombing its own hotel, killing its own people. For what? For power. To garner sympathy for Israel. Now, Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, their motto is something like "rule by deception." By deception, we will rule, and that is the truth. I mean, that's the truth, not just for Mossad, but that's the truth for Israel as a whole. They say they're Israel, but they're not. Jesus said, there are those who say that they're Jews. He says, but they're not. He says they're the synagogue of Satan. Who do you think he was describing? Who do you think he was talking about? Those who say they're Jews, but they're not. They're the synagogue of Satan. That's who he's talking about. And this is how Zionist terrorism determined Palestine's fate. And it's from an article written in 2017 by Rod Such from his book The State of Terror: How Terrorism Created Modern Israel. And that's the truth, brother. That's the truth. How terrorism created modern Israel. Now, Jacob, what is the world against now? What is the war on now in the world? Okay. Jacob says that he got cut off, but he's still there. Okay, glad you are. There's a war on terror, right? Wow. A war on terror. That war is going to go on a long time. Well, actually, it's going to go on forever because the world's not perfect. You're always going to have fear. You're always going to have the threat of terror, terrorism. So the war on terror is going to go on forever, and it's meant to be that way. But again, the father of terrorism in the Middle East, and he corrected and said, how about the world? The father of terrorism of the world. Father of terrorism is not some Islamic jihadist or whatever. It is a so-called, he calls himself a Jew, Menachem Begin, who became Prime Minister of Israel. It says, Israel's propaganda playbook attempts to reframe the Palestinian liberation struggle as a question of terror, not territory. Thanks to a dutiful media, this effort to portray Palestinians as terrorists has had significant traction among some demographics. But how did terrorism originate in Palestine, and what was its outcome both historically and today? Thomas Suarez sheds much new light on these questions in the book State of Terror: How Terrorism Created Modern Israel. He does this largely by mining previously neglected declassified documents from the British National Archives covering the period of the British Mandate for Palestine, 1920 to 1948. His principal thesis is that Zionist terrorism ultimately dictated the course of events during the Mandate, and it is Israeli state terrorism that continues to dictate events today. I'll read that again. His principal thesis is that Zionist terrorism ultimately dictated the course of events during the Mandate, and it is Israeli state terrorism that continues to dictate events today. The author cautions that while he unequivocally condemns Palestinian terrorism against civilians, he recognizes that some were driven to extreme measures due to immense power and in reaction to attempts to subjugate the Palestinian people and their resources, land, and labor. Zionist terrorism aimed to prevent Palestinian Arabs from exercising their right to self-determination, Suarez argues, and when an aggressor encounters resistance, it can hardly use self-defense as justification for its own acts of violence. Otherwise, Suarez writes, all aggression would self-justify. He is not a professional historian, however, State of Terror has drawn praise from such figures as Israeli historian Ilan Pappy, who on the book cover calls it a force, and the first comprehensive structured analysis of the violence employed by the Zionist movement both before and after Israel's creation. The State of Terror is an insightful meditation on history. This is apparent, especially in the opening chapters that cover the period leading up to the British Mandate and the issuance of the 1917 Balfour Declaration, in which Britain decreed a national home for Jews in Palestine. Suarez offers a penetrating analysis of the roots of the Zionist ideology, showing not only its racist underpinnings and the attitudes toward Arabs, but also its attempt to exercise political, religious, and cultural control over the Jewish people. Now, what am I talking about? Who am I talking about when I'm talking about those who claim to be Jews? Zionist. John Hagee, Kenneth Copeland, Joel Osteen, Paula White. All of these mega church, super powerful evangelical leaders, they're all Zionist. And the political arena, they're all Zionist. They're all self-admitted Zionists, and that's what it is. It's Zionism. So I say those who call themselves Jews, I'm actually talking about Zionists. They're Jews. They're Zionists. They're the synagogue of Satan. They're evil. They're evil and they're proud of it. And am I against Jews? Nope. Jacob says they want to keep people in fear. That makes us easy to control. Yes. They can't stand anyone that doesn't fear them. I don't fear you. I don't fear your God. I don't fear you, Bibi Netanyahu. I don't give a damn. You know, when I see you grinning and laughing when you're told that, you know, that Israel have shot, you know, and killed a little Palestinian boy that was climbing the wall, and when a reporter asks you, couldn't you use rubber bullets or, you know, something? Did you have some? Well, the only thing I regret is that it wasn't more that were shot. You see, yeah, he views the Palestinians like cockroaches. He hates them. It's sickening. We're talking about a little boy. Do you know that right now in Israel, an Israeli soldier or a Jew can walk in, you know, Palestine with a rifle, with a gun, or whatever. But if a little Palestinian boy, such as they've been shot for having an ink pen or a pencil in their hand, not shot in the leg or anything, shot in the chest or the head. If you want to see pictures like that, if you want to see proof of that, Google it, YouTube it. Try not to cry, try not to throw up, because it's sickening. And then watch Netanyahu's response. He's when he's told about these atrocities, about how the Israeli soldiers, how a video was leaked of them shooting crippled Palestinians and and elderly Palestinians who were doing nothing, and they were shooting them. They were picking who they were going to shoot by the color of their clothes. Like, the guy right there wearing the purple shirt, let's shoot him. Bam! They shoot him in the head, and then they laugh. They're laughing as his family and everyone comes to his aid, trying to help him. There's no helping him. I mean, they blew his head off. Okay. Then this teenage boy gets shot in the leg, and they're laughing about that because, again, they're trying to help him. The bullets that they use in their rifles, they fragment. Boom! It blew his leg off, and he's bleeding out. He's bleeding out. While he's bleeding out, while his family's screaming, because he's obviously dying, the Israeli soldiers are laughing. This tape that was accidentally released and got out into the public was presented to Netanyahu. You know what Netanyahu's response was? Is he punished those Israeli soldiers. Not because of what they did, but because they allowed that tape to become public. Matter of fact, he praised them for what they did. What in what universe, in what world is that acceptable? What in the hell is going on? I don't care. You can call yourself an American that supports Israel, and that's fine. But when you support this beyond evil behavior, beyond evil, beyond atrocious acts, who the hell are you? What are you? You're either evil yourself or you're a coward. Afraid to speak up or speak out. Yeah, as long as it's not you, you're fine. Or you just enjoy it and you're part of it. You suck. And I really feel sorry for you because you might think that you're big and powerful, but you're a scumbag. It's just life, and it's time for people to stand up, speak out, because it's just a matter of time before this is going to be part of this. It's going to be, you're going to be under that law. You're going to be under that same treatment. Because that's how they view you. Matter of fact, they probably view you as even being worse than the Palestinians. They view you as they say that cattle are better than you are. And matter of fact, it is. I will say this, that the people that believe they're doing something good, and I don't have anything against them, but they're talking about the royal family, how the royal family, how Queen Elizabeth supposedly, how she maintains her life and her longevity and by drinking the blood of children and all that, Listen, I say these Zionists, they rule by deception, diversion, and division. And that shit about, oh, the royal family drinks blood and they sacrifice children and all that. Okay. You have proof of that? And nothing against you, but really, do you have proof of that? And if so, would you share it with us? Would you show the world? Secondly, do you really believe that that takes place? Do you really, really believe that takes place? If it does, and it might, I don't know. I'm just saying. Those that say that that they're reptilians in human form, and that the Vatican is the one that's ruling the world, and wrong. Who do you think owns the Vatican? The Khazarians. The Khazarian Mafia. So, yeah. The Khazarian Mafia, aka the Rothschilds, or Rockefeller, whose names are inscribed on every building in Israel, in Jerusalem. The Rockefeller building, the Rockefeller, Plaza. In New York, on Fifth Avenue, the building at 666 Fifth Avenue was purchased in 1998 by Jared Kushner for $1.8 billion. Why? Why would Jared Kushner pay many times what that building was worth? They asked him. I said, you paid at least 10 times or more what that building's worth. Did you do it? He said, I wanted to make a bid so big that no one else would, bid on it. That building is across the street from Rockefeller Plaza. That building is where, on the 6th floor, where Lucent Technologies were working on perfecting the RFID biochip. Yes, that's no lie. Look at that. Not kidding. And Kushner wanted it big time. Why? Because that's God the Zionists serve. They don't serve the God of love. They don't serve the God of light. They serve the God of war. Did you hear that? The God of war. That's who they serve. And that's what they're addicted to, is war. War. Violence. In the God of war is, as far as the planets, is Mars, Aries, whatever. Their planetary body, if you will, or planet that they worship, is Saturn. Saturn is what? Is Kronos, the god of time, father time, right? Okay, on Saturn's north pole, there is a hexagon. Plain as day, a hexagon. But if you look at it like as three-dimensional, you'll see that hexagon forms a cube, what's been referred to as the black cube. Okay, you with me so far? All right, the black cube and Saturn. You have the word Satyr, Satyr, in Hebrew, I believe, or that means like Pan, the god Pan, cloven feet and everything, So you can see that it's the correlation with Satan is there. Matter of fact, in the Bible, it talks about the apostasy of worshiping the star of Remphan, which is Saturn. And Saturn is, like I said, associated with time. And how many movies, how many books, how many theories have you heard in the last 10, 20 years on time travel or time manipulation or time dilation, all that? A lot. And I believe that's going to have something to do, it's going to have to do with upcoming revelations as far as CERN and different things as far as that goes. Now, as far as Saturn, you can see in logos, company logos, like Toyota. That's a Saturn, it's a logo of Saturn. You have so many that circles and rings. Even the movie, I'm sorry, I love the movies, but even the movie, The Lord of the Rings, what do you think that's referring to? Referring to Saturn. The Lord of the Rings. The ring that ruled them all. What's the planet that rules them all? Saturn. Saturn's was once said to be our sun. And I find that interesting because on the south pole of Saturn, there is what is called the eye, and it looks very, very much like a human eye. And I did some research and some thinking about that, and it was said that Saturn was very, very close to the Earth at one time, very close. And so I'm thinking, okay, could it have been so close that when people looked up, just like we look up at the moon, that they looked up and saw this eye on Saturn? This eye that they took as the eye of providence, the eye of God. God is watching you, correct? God's watching over you. Could it have been? Well, it's feasible. And it's also something that in the Bible talks about in the book of Ezekiel. It says in chapter 28, it talks about talking about God telling Ezekiel to take up a lamentation against the king of Tyre, but it's the Bible reference. He's referring also to the devil, so to speak. And he says, you were perfect in all your ways. He says, you were wiser than Daniel. You're perfect in all your ways. He said, every precious stone was your covering. He gives the name of the stones and says, you were the guardian cherub, whatever. It's actually cherub, but we'll say cherub because that's what everybody calls it. You are the guardian cherub, the one who covers, which I take that as being the very one that guarded the throne of God. And he says, You were perfect in all your ways until iniquity was found within you. Pride entered your heart. He says, and you sinned. You know. He says, and I cast you out. It's profane. Now, in the book of Genesis, it says that when Cain killed his brother Abel, it says that he slew him, which literally means he overtook him, right? Okay. And when he did, God, it says that God put a mark on Cain and sent Cain out into the land of Nod, which was, by all indications, was pretty far out. Okay. My question, and this is really just, something to think about, is Saturn has been linked to Cain, and Cain was a what? Cain was a farmer. He toiled the land. Abel was a shepherd. Okay, could it be that Cain being associated with Saturn, and Saturn being so close to the Earth, that it's talking about Cain being Saturn and Abel being the sun we have now, and that when Saturn somehow moved so close to the Earth that it overtook the sun, S-U-N, we have now, and because of that, God sent Cain, aka Saturn, out to the farthest reaches, which in the ancient world would have been Saturn, the seventh planet. Now, people are going to say, well, now wait a minute, Saturn's the sixth planet. Well, not if you count the asteroid belt between Earth and Mars, which I believe there was a planet there that sustained some kind of cataclysm, collision, something that just obliterated it to pieces, and that's where we get the asteroid belt. So Saturn is in fact the seventh planet. Now, when you look at that as far as the name and the number, the planetary number in order, you have Saturn as the seventh planet, and in Judaism is the Sabbath, the seventh day. The Sabbath, Saturn, Saturday, Saturn's day. It's very telling. And then there's a correlation between the Kaaba at Mecca. What's in Mecca? The black cube. The Kaaba stone inside the black cube, correct? Now you have Muslims that they go to Mecca and they walk around the black cube. How many times? 7 times. There again, out of homage to Saturn, the seventh planet. Now, before you get very, while we're on this subject, I'm going to say that there's black cubes that have been erected in New York, in major cities, There's one in Rome. I believe in Brussels. All kinds of places where the black cube is found. Okay. Now, keep in mind that the Kaaba is what is in Mecca, the Kaaba stone, and then in the Judaism that I'm talking about, that is so rabid and is actually the mover and the religion, the rabid religion, the racist religion that is it's responsible for, well, they're doing it now. They're setting up the New World Order, and it's the Talmudic, it's the Talmud following Chabad, Lubavitch, Hasidic Jews, which they're not true Jews at all. Something else they follow is the Kabbalah, which is every logo, every symbol that you see on bands and basically in movies and everything, you can tie back to the Kabbalah. Okay, look at that. Look at that word. Consider that word Kabbalah. And then the word of the stone in Mecca, the Kaaba. The Kaaba, the Kabbalah. Wow. What's going on here? Okay. Now, where is another place the black cube is seen? Much smaller, of course, but nevertheless the black cube. Well, how about in Israel? The Orthodox Jews, they wear the tefillin, the black cube they put where? On their forehead. And it has a strap that is attached to it that they wrap 7 times around their left arm. This black cube, it's said to have prayers inside of it, and that's what they do. The tefillin, the black cube on their forehead, 7 times around their left arm. The black cube in Mecca that Muslims circle 7 times. It's all out of homage to Saturn. There is the cult of Saturn, aka the Vatican, Catholicism, this sect of Judaism, and possibly Judaism itself. Yes, Saturn is huge. It's also called Remphan, Remphan, called Chiun, spelled Chiun. It is, like I said, Chronos, Father Time. It is also equated with many different names. Okay, what I'm saying is this energy, this current, this this spirit, so to speak, it has been called the God of many names, of 1,000 names. And no matter what name is used, it all goes back to, are there 1,000 gods that this is talking about? There's 1,000 names, probably more than that. But there's only one. There's only one. And it's like, wears many different masks, but there's just one. And the mask that it wears, very, very subtle, very, very deceptive. Just like, far back as I can remember, growing up, I've always heard support and stand with Israel because they need it, because they're victims. Are they victims? Look at Israel today. Look at those Zionists living in Israel today and tell me they're victims. Look at the Palestinians living in the West Bank, which is nothing more than a huge concentration camp, a sewer, if you will, that any one would admit, yeah, that is not, you know, if that was here in the United States and there were people being forced to live in such conditions, be no way. The United Nations, they know damn well what's going on. They know that if a Palestinian is shot or is hit by a car or an Israeli military vehicle, and is a Jewish person hits a Palestinian. I read an article the other day where a Palestinian woman was struck by a car driven by a Jewish person. I'm not sure. And that she was laying there, obviously in tremendous pain, bleeding, screaming, and there were Israeli medics there. Israeli medics. And they refused to treat her. Why? She's a dog. She's Palestinian. Now this is how evil. People say, well, evil's relative. No, this is evil in every friggin' universe you can imagine. I don't give a damn where you're at. It's evil. Get over it. They stood there, and the people, Palestinians, that are trying to help this woman that has just been slammed by this car, this vehicle, they're begging these Israeli medics to help this woman. And they look at her and they watch her literally in pain, and they say, no, we're not. You know why? Because the truth is, they truly believe that, hey, this is a great day. She's dying. That's one less Palestinian that's going to be on this earth. Do you know that they would not allow the Palestinian women that were begging to use their cell phones to call an ambulance? They would not allow them to use their cell phones to call an ambulance or to call someone to come and help and save this woman's life. And they stood there and did nothing. And this woman died. Think about that. Let that sink in. She died. Maybe she was a mother, maybe she was a grandmother, maybe she was the sweetest person on the face of the earth, had ever done anything. Maybe she didn't even hate the medics that could have helped her. Maybe she, but she probably died wondering how they could be so cruel as not to help her when they could have helped her. And then when the Israeli soldiers get there, or the enforcers, the police or whatever get there, they began arresting or threatening and arresting the Palestinians for different things, or standing here, standing there. What were you doing? Blame. Nothing against the Israelis. Nothing against so-called Jews. So that's something to really, really think about. And also, every president since Jimmy Carter has signed these Noahide laws into effect. President George H.W. Bush signed them into effect on September 11th, 1991. September 11th, 1991. Right around the time of his New World Order speech. Okay. And it was actually hidden in another bill, or it was actually called the Education Day Bill. So when I heard that, I'm thinking, okay, Education Day, it's like school, American, like Education Day, math, reading, science, No. Let that fool you. That's just a diversion, it's a deception. What that education is the education into the Noahide laws. It's not anything about public school or the United States education system. And it is about the about that sect and about their education, how they want to educate or indoctrinate, rather, every American citizen into being their slave, into being a good servant to them, the Zionist scum. Also, from the Temple Mount in Jerusalem to the Kaaba in Mecca, the distance is exactly 666.6 nautical miles. Now keep in mind, at one time, could that land have been underwater? Well, who knows, but it's 666.6 nautical miles. And there are many other I don't think they're coincidences at all. I will leave you with this. Is that President Donald Trump followed the previous 6 presidents, from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama, when he issued the proclamation marking Education and Sharing Day. A delegation of the Chabad Lubavitch leaders met with the president in the Oval Office for the signing. Since the day's inception, states, cities, and localities have likewise signed the Rabbi Schneerson's birthday as Education Day. This year, and this is 2019, last year, it says, let's see, this year, I lost it. Okay. Says Donald Trump has signed the Education Day USA proclamation every year of his presidency since he's been in office, yet his versions of the proclamation do not mention the Jewish Noahide laws, only the importance of education and the remembrance of Rabbi Schneerson, who dedicated much of his life to the Noahide agenda. Even though Trump's versions of the resolution do not mention the Noahide law, the Chabad Lubavitch website reminds us that Jewish Noahide laws are the unifying idea of all these proclamations, including Trump's, and are what our presidents are referring to when they say education. You're damn right. That's what they're talking about. Jewish Noahide law calls for the death of anyone practicing idolatry. Idolatry. According to who? Oh, them. Actually, the soon-to-be World Judiciary Court, the recently reconvened Sanhedrin, the 70-member elders that mete out the Jewish punishment, the Jewish law, for breaking Jewish law. Okay. Jewish Noahide law calls for the death of anyone practicing idolatry, blasphemy, or sexual immorality. It also obligates non-Jews to set up courts to carry out these executions. Rabbi Schneerson, whose birth we commemorate, stated that according to Jewish law, non-Jews have no other purpose than to serve Jews, who are the reason for creation. Well, Rabbi Schneerson, if you were alive today, you would be wrong. You're wrong now, dead in your grave, and you'll be wrong till hell freezes over. So, take that. Just, a little racist, little gnome-looking guy that, the hell with you, the hell with your belief system, you racist little punk, and everybody that follows you that's the same way. That's not the key. That's not power. That's weakness. And you're weak and you suck. The real strength is in love and tolerance and taking a stand against the sick racism that you preached all your life. So, you live, 90-something years? Yeah, it meant nothing. And it still means nothing. It's still trash. So, there. Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka, is the high-ranking Chabad Lubavitch cultist. She prays at Rabbi Schneerson's grave and has been blessed by rabbis who demand Jews follow the Noahide laws and refer to them as animals. Seeing that his daughter is such a high-ranking member of the Chabad Lubavitch cult, and that both her associations and the Education Day USA have drawn so much criticism, it is very hard to believe that Donald Trump does not understand the ramifications of his signature on these proclamations. And Schneerson says, two contrary types of souls exist. A non-Jewish soul comes from three satanic spheres, while the Jewish soul stems from holiness. And I really wish that wasn't the case. I mean, I really do. Along with many others, I thought that when Trump became president, I thought, man, he's gonna do what he says he's gonna do. You know, he's gonna drain the swamp. He told Hillary Clinton, he says, "You are evil. You're a wicked woman. You've done horrible things." And he said, and he looked at the camera and he says, "And if you, the American people, will elect me," he says, "I will make sure that you are in jail." And he says, "I will put together a special." He says, I will prosecute you." He says, "I will have my Attorney General prosecute you, especially," he says, "for what crimes you've committed." And he says, "And I will see you in jail." And everybody is applauding, you know, and everything. Okay, that was 4 years ago. What's happened? What's happened since then? Anything? Anything even close to anything happening? To her being prosecuted? To her even being questioned about her crimes or whatever? About what she's done? Nothing. Nothing. Has the swamp been drained? No. Nothing. It just so happens that when someone goes to Washington, this is just the track record, when they go to Washington, they're against everything. I mean, they're gonna change the way things go. But when they arrive in Washington, I don't know what the hell happens, but Washington ends up changing them. And there's a lot more about that I'll talk about next time. But think about that. Think about the promises that were made about looking into the crimes, Benghazi, Libya, about crimes, again, that Hillary Clinton, that he said was a wicked woman. He said, "You are evil." He says, "You're heartless." He says, you've done horrible things. And then he's interviewed. Once he's in office, he is interviewed and asked about Hillary Clinton. And he says, "Wonderful one. Wonderful one. She's done so much for this country." He says, "I only have the highest admiration for her." He says, "I am friends with her and her husband." And he laughs and he says, "And I call them my neighbors because we both live in New York." Hello? What the hell happened? What in the hell? That is a complete 180 from "I'm going to see you in jail, you're wicked, you've done evil things," and then promising the American people, "If you elect me, I'll make sure that this thing, this evil which is prosecuted and put in jail. I will see you in prison. Oh, now, hey, I only have admiration for her. What the hell happened? And has anybody called him on that and said, hey, what happened? Because you were against her big time. And if you don't remember it, let's rewatch the video. Let's listen to what you yourself said, President Trump. And again, like a lot of you, I liked President Trump. I'm not saying I don't like him now, but I'm not saying I like him. I'm not saying that I don't like him. I'm just speaking truth. You know damn well he has not carried through with what he said he was going to do. Now he's singing her praises. Why? What happened? Could it be that those that really run the show told him, you're not going to touch her. You're not going to investigate a damn thing she does. You just do what you're told. Play your role. You act. You're an actor. We pull the strings. You do what you're told. And if you don't, well, remember JFK. And we'll have no problem doing that. Am I saying that? No. But the last president that said, I'm not playing your damn game, and I'm not afraid to speak out about what you are and what you do, had his brains blown out in Dallas, right? But why? Was it because he was going to end the CIA and well, that's part of it, I think. Was it because he was going to stop the war in Vietnam? Well, I think that's part of it. But what many people do not know, do not realize, is a little incident that was the real reason why JFK was assassinated, his brains blown out. Like I said, diversion. Your attention is diverted to all these things. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Oh, my, the Bay of Pigs. Woo, yeah, they got pissed off and, yeah, he had to go. The Mafia. Boy, he was cracking down on the Mafia, Marilyn Monroe. All this. But do you know that in Israel, there was a question about the Dimona nuclear plant, and it was concealed, or it was being concealed by Israel from the Americans, from the United States. And Kennedy got word of it. He got word of it. And so he said that he told David Ben Gurion, the first Israeli prime minister, so we're going to investigate. And Ben Gurion said, no, you're not. And Kennedy said, oh, yes, we are. And he says, oh, no, you're not. We're not going to allow it. So it went on, and he was going to investigate, and what he was going to find was what? He's going to find that that they had a nuclear power plant, and they were working on nuclear weapons. And so David is Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion said, "Hey, guess who has to go?" Mordecai Vanunu, nuclear whistleblower, says that Israel was behind the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy, who was exerting pressure on the then Israeli head of state to shed light on the Dimona nuclear plant. Now, when you think about this, when you think about it, why is it that every single bit of evidence, everything that pertains to the JFK assassination is buried under lock and key until, well, some of it was released, but not all of it, because said the world couldn't take it, you know? The world, it would destroy civilization as we know it if the truth came up before everyone was dead that was alive at that time. What could be so bad? Could it be that Israel, that the Israeli government said, yes, the President of the United States must be, President Kennedy, he must be gone. Because he will not stop. He will not give up. He will not do what he's told. He was told to drop it. And he says, nope, I'm not going to. I don't do that. I'm going to send monitors, investigators. We're going to find out what you're doing. And they said, no, you're not. And what did he find out? He found out what a bullet feels like going through his brain. Who was it blamed on? The scapegoat. The scapegoat. Which the term scapegoat comes from what? The Old Testament. The book of Numbers. The scapegoat. Man. But that's what it was. That's what I believe it was. Was the Dimona nuclear plant that was being hidden from the world and from the United States, and Kennedy would have none of it, and he lost his life. He signed his death certificate when he, So, what's going on now? Netanyahu just a week ago, or somewhat, was talking with reporters, and he had a slip of the tongue and mentioned Israel's nuclear weapons, and then he's not cleared it up, but he was grinning, he was smiling, because everyone knows that Israel can have nuclear weapons, but no one else. Look at what they're wanting to do: attack Israel, attack Iran, decimate Iran, because they think that Iran might have nuclear weapons when they know Israel does. Does anybody see something wrong with that? Like big time? Yeah. It's not right. It's not right at all. Anyway. Again, I'm not against the Jewish people. I'm against the Zionists. I'm against those who take advantage of those who are afraid or unable to stand up for themselves. I'm for the downtrodden. Always have been, always will be. Right is right, wrong, I don't care who you are or what God said that you had the right to do. You don't. Anyway, I've gone off long enough. Thank you for listening. Jacob, thank you for taking part in the live chat. Nazreen, thank you. Those of you that would like to, yes, Nazreen, all politicians do that. Hypocrisy at best. You are right. Yep. What is good for them is good for them, no matter what. Even if it's a crime, even if it's wrong, evil, whatever. Yes, if it serves them, it's fine. And like I said, it's quite something if you have an elected official or president of the United States that it's crimes, then if he's impeached or he's removed from office, then who takes over? His vice president, who then pardons the president, right? So it's a win-win situation. I mean, you don't have anything to worry about. It's you just get pardoned, and that's the danger. That's what's coming, is the separation of church and state ending, and it's going to be this rabid racist, religious system that's going to be enforced, but it's not going to just be the religious system. Church and state are going to come together. It's going to be enforced by the government, by a world government, their new world order, or the great work, as they call it. Yeah, that's what they've always wanted, is what they're going to have. Only, I'll admit, I didn't see this one coming. I did not see it being Judaism of this type, this sect. But I see it now, and I understand it, and that's what their goal is. And they have the backing, they have the power, they have the money, they have the means, and look out, get ready, because it's coming. And the punishment for breaking these Noahide laws, and they just apply to the non-Jews, to the Gentiles. The punishment is decapitation, having your head cut off. Think about that. Yep, that's it. But anyway, if you'd like to contact me, you may do so at thetextualistpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to contact me about show ideas or whatever, please contact me. If you would like, you can join our Facebook group for the show on Facebook, the Texas Live Podcast. Just look it up. You'll find it. If you like the show, please hit the like button on Spreaker and follow me on Spreaker. Appreciate it. Love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.